Right. In this video, we're going to look at the idea of what we call a coterminal angle or coterminal angles, and then also we're going to look at the concept of a reference angle. So, two angles are called coterminal if they share the same terminal side. So let's look through some examples here. So if we have an angle, suppose this is the angle 30 degrees. So it's 30 degrees. If we get to this terminal side like that, because we know this is going to be 0 degrees, 90 degrees here, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and so it means 0 is the same as 360. So however, if we have enough energy, we could get to this coterminal angle after one rotation. So if we go round once and only stop now, then that means that angle is now going to be 390, because we have done one complete rotation, which is 360, and then plus 30. So that means 30 and 390 are going to be coterminal. If we have even more energy, we could rotate twice before we stop, in which case then it's going to be 720 plus 30, so it's going to be 750. Okay, we can go on and on, but alternatively we can get to this terminal side by rotating in the clockwise direction. So remember, we said these angles are negative, so that one is going to be almost 360, but it's going to be 30 less than 360, so it's going to be negative 30. So from this definition, all these four angles are coterminal. Now let's see how they behave like in terms of the trigonometric ratios. So I'm just going to set up a table here. Here on the first column I'm going to have theta, then I'll have sine theta and cosine theta on the other two columns. So at this point you can take your calculator out, because we are going to need to use a calculator. So we have 30. We said we also have 390. We have 750. And then we have negative 330. So we're going to check what the sine of each of these is and what the cosine of each of them is. So we're going to start with sine 30. So I said we need the calculator. Of course, we first make sure that the calculator is in the right mode, so it needs to be in the degrees mode. So let's see what sine 30 is going to be like. So degrees mode there. So sine 30, so let's go sine 30 equal sine, so 0.5, so 0.5 5 there. Next we're going to try sine 390. Sine 390, it's also 0.5. Then I'm going to try sine 750. Sine 750, also 0.5. Then I'm going to try sine negative 330. Sine negative 330, also 0.5. Okay, so it looks like all the signs of these angles are exactly the same. Now we're going to try the cosine. So we're going to start with cosine 30. It's 0.866, so 0.866. Then I'm going to do cosine of 390. Cosine 390 is also 0.866. Then I'm going to try cosine 750. 750, also 0.866. Cosine negative 330, also 0.866. So this is very interesting. In fact, from there we can make a conclusion. And the conclusion is this one. Coterminal angles have identical trigonometric ratios. So that means if you know the trigonometric ratios of one angle, then you already know the trigonometric ratios of its coterminal, shall we call them siblings. So like if you know the trigonometric ratios of 30, then you already know the trigonometric ratios of 390, 750, etc. So that's coterminal angles. The next thing that's going to be important we're going to look at is something called the reference angle. Okay, so which we call a ref theta. Ref theta, which is the reference angle of theta, is the smallest angle made by the terminal side of theta. Terminal side, you'll remember that from the previous video, of theta with the horizontal axis, with the horizontal axis. So what is this saying? For instance, suppose we have an angle in the first quadrant like this. So there's the terminal side. There are two angles it makes with the horizontal axis. It's this angle and this angle. Okay, here we're interested in the smallest angle. Well, which of these two is smaller? It's going to be this one. So that would be the reference angle. Another example. Suppose this time we have an angle in the second quadrant. Okay, so suppose our angle, so that's the initial side, there is the terminal side. This time this is the angle made with the horizontal angle, this is the other one. Which one is smaller? It's this one. So the reference angle is always going to be an acute angle. Okay, so if this is our terminal site for theta, then ref theta going to be this angle here. So let's do some numbers. Okay, going to do a diagram with angles with the same reference angle, one in the first quadrant. So if this is 30, then if I extend this, then that is going to be 210. Then this side I'm going to have 150. This side I'm going to have 330. So the thing that's connecting these four angles is they all have a ref theta equal to 30. So the smallest angle between the terminal side and the horizontal axis is 30. That's 30 there, that's 30 there, and that's 30 there. So this is telling us that 30, 150, 210 and 330 are related because they've got the same ref theta. Okay, so let's do a table again. So this time our table is going to have theta, going to have ref theta, it's going to have sine theta, cos theta. So in the first column we're going to have theta, which is 30, then 150, then 210, then the last one is going to be 330. The ref theta here is 30. The ref theta for this one is 30. Is this angle here. The ref theta for this one is 30. So these four angles are connected because they've got the same ref. For 30 we've already seen that sine 30 is 0.5, cosine 30 is 0.866. So we're just going to continue to 150. So let's see what sine 150 is. Sine 150, not 120. 150 is also equal to 0.5. Okay, do sine 210. Sine 210. That one is negative 0.5. Sine 330. 330. That one is also negative 0.5. Then now let's do the cosines. Cosine 150. Cosine 150 is the negative of 0.866. Cosine 210. Cosine 210 is also negative 0.866. And then cosine 330 is positive 0.866. So here is something that we need to notice here. All the signs have got the same number, which is 0.5, but all that's changing is the sign. Positive here, negative here, negative here. This is first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. But from the first video, we say that in the first quadrant, sign is positive. Also positive in the second quadrant. In the third and fourth, sign is negative. And then we say cosine is positive, negative in the second quadrant. So cosine is going to be negative there. So that's why cosine 150 is going to be negative 0.866. Cosine is also negative in the third quadrant, so that's why cosine to 10 is going to be negative 0.866, but cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant, so that's why cosine 330 is positive. So here we see that once we know the sine and cosine of 30, we already also know the sine and cosine of 150, 210, and 330. So all we need to do is to observe the rules that we set up in the first video, where we said in the first quadrant they are all positive. In the second quadrant we said sine theta is positive. The third quadrant we said tangent theta is positive. The fourth quadrant cosine theta is positive. Okay, so to conclude this, we are going to say angles with equal ref theta have trigonometric ratios that are equal in magnitude. So that means if 1 is 1/2, all of them are going to be 1/2, except that depending in which quadrant they fall, it could be negative 1/2 or positive 1/2 as well. So that is the idea of reference angles and coterminal angles. Okay.